G'day folks, and welcome to Cinema Australia. My name's Matthew Eeles, and tonight we're joined by 2040 director Damon Gameau. Damon, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure, Matt. Thanks for having me.
I watched the film the other night with my 5-year-old son, and he watched it from beginning to end, so congratulations. I don't know how interested he was in the film, but he was interested in the animation.
Yeah, that's good.
Was
that's
that
a way to lure them in.
Yeah, that's right. Was that a key part of the film?
Oh, definitely. I think, especially with this topic, you've got to make the topic accessible, and obviously that we had success with that with the Sugar film, and I thought the same has to apply here, that I wanted to appeal to families and children, and they could all sit through it. And I think it's easier to sit through something like this if there's constantly things that are engaging you or sparking your imagination or creativity. I just think it's a nice device to get people lured in.
Yeah, right. So 2040 has such a positive outlook on the future. For years we've been fed these dystopian Hollywood films. Where did the idea for this one come from?
It came because I was halfway through an environmental article a few years ago and didn't finish it. And as I was reading the next article, I thought, why can't I finish that? So I reached out and spoke to a couple of different people, and one in particular was an environmental psychologist, and she just explained to me how when we constantly get bombarded with this kind of negative imagery and it evokes fear, that we do shut down parts of our brain that are problem-solving areas or creative thinking areas. I thought, gee, that's very hard to get people to act on this topic if we're constantly being told how bad our future is. So I just did some research and again, just a deeper dive into some of the solutions that existed, and I even felt myself becoming more engaged once I did that. And I thought, well, there's room to put this story out there as well. We need the diagnosis, it's important to know what's going on, but I think people are ready to also hear the next part of that, which is, there are things we can do, and if we really get on with it, we could actually create a much better future.
I found some of the key contributors in the film to be fascinating, especially Colin Sears, the Australian farmer. He was incredible, and I learnt so much from him. What kind of research did you do to find these guys?
Yeah, so the research, we took about 8 months to find all those solutions, and really they had to have what I call like cascading benefits, so it couldn't be just a silver bullet. There had to be sort of other elements of the solution that would benefit ecosystems or communities or whatever it might be. And the one with coal is quite staggering that we don't know that. Not enough of us are connected to where our food comes from to understand how important soil is. And that's the most wonderful solution, because not only are you taking that carbon out of the atmosphere where it's doing us damage, but to then put it back in the soil where it came from and it belongs has all these wonderful benefits to doing it. So it's just a no-brainer in terms of something that we should really get behind and be excited about.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. So the film's broken up with cutaways of children giving their visions of the future. Some of them are quite funny, some of them are heartwarming. Were you surprised by any of the responses from the children, or were there any that were cut from the film that couldn't make it? Or?
Oh yeah, we interviewed about 110 kids, I think, from Tanzania to Bangladesh to Brooklyn to a private girls' school in London. And the main reason was I didn't want this to just be my version of the future. I just felt like, that wouldn't work. That it was important to consult that generation that we're going to be living in 2040. So, their responses, as you know, are so authentic and articulate. And there were moments where I felt really upset by that, because they were, some of them shouldn't know what they know and were very overwhelmed by what their future might be. But in the same breath, the excitement and the hope I had by thinking once these guys get power, like they're going to do great things, because they're growing up with a very different set of cultural norms than we had. Their awareness level is already at a much higher level in terms of environmental issues, so they're really going to get on with it. We just have to make sure we don't inflict too much damage before they get that power.
So were there any responses that surprised you? Any in particular?
Oh, look, there were a couple we cut out because I didn't want to make the film too political, but in
Really?
Brooklyn a lot of the kids were talking about Trump. A lot of the kids, you could just hear their mothers. They were saying, this Trump, he's just putting chains around the Statue of Liberty, and he's really messing with our freedom as Americans. And it was really interesting.
Wow.
So I just, as tempting as it was to put some of those in, I just thought, no, we'll keep those out of there. And I guess the big surprise was how how often the kids mentioned the environment. I mean, I didn't really prompt them. I just said, look, when you're your mum and dad's age, what would you like to see in the world?
Yeah.
And all those answers about deforestation and animals and global warming, it all came from them. So they're obviously aware of what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. All right, folks, so we're going to take a quick look at a clip from the film.
My name is Damon. And this is my daughter, Velvet. Are you trying to plant Dad? She's just turned 4. Her days are spent in a happy bubble created by my excellent wife, Zoe. She's lucky enough that her major concerns right now are numbers,
Daddy, Mummy, fairies.
So how many pieces is that?
how to tell a knock-knock joke.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Unicorn.
Unicorn who?
Unicorn jump over a rainbow.
Oh, that's who it is. And the elusive art of sleep direction. But soon, she'll have to leave that happy bubble and face a rapidly deteriorating environment.
Yes, John, the ice sheet is now melting faster than the scientists predicted. We're seeing large waterfalls pouring off the side of the ice. It's an alarming acceleration.
The need to address this is so urgent that it often overwhelms me.
That sugar film had an immediate impact. It certainly did with me. I felt like I stopped eating as much sugar as I could. I walked out of the cinema and I never wanted to touch sugar again. Obviously, I have, but. So, what are some of the small immediate actions that you hope people will take away from this film?
Yeah, so as with sugar, we just thought it was really important to make sure there are things people can do after this film. So really the film is a tiny part of a much larger thing we're building. So you can go to our website, which is whatsyour2040.com, and there's a button there that says activate your plan.
Right.
And you're asked a series of questions. We work with an organisation called Purpose in America who did something called Crush the Midterms, which really helped people to specify what they wanted to vote for in the elections. So this says, like, what did you resonate with in the film? What type of person are you? How much time do you have available? Would you like to donate any money? And then it spits out your own personalised plan, which has 6 or 7 things that you can do right now based on what inputs you've delivered there.
Right.
So it just gives people that sense of, when you are feeling hopeful or excited at the end of the film, you can actually translate that into action. And because I think often the documentaries you can feel that, and then 10 minutes later you're living life and you're on social media and suddenly it's all forgotten. So I just think we're at that point now where all of us need to take action. We can't rely on governments to make decisions for us anymore.
Yeah.
We actually need to get involved, and so we just wanted to provide any number of ways that people can get involved depending on what they resonated with or what their passion is.
Get involved. I want to find out a bit more about you as a filmmaker. You've made 2 documentaries now, and Michael Moore once said that prior to making documentaries, he couldn't stand them because there was too much finger wagging going on, he said, until he found the entertainment and educational value in them. You've had such a successful career as an actor. What made you want to make documentaries?
Well, I always felt that it wasn't enough. I felt frustrated as an actor. Every now and again you got a job that you really loved, and for me it was like The Tracker or Ballabo, where you felt like you were actually sort of contributing in some way. But other than that, I often found myself on set just going, I don't really love this and I don't want to be doing this with my time. But I just never had the confidence to tell my own stories. And then I had a few moments or things happen in my life that really sort of kicked me up the bum and said, look, come on, what are you going to do? Get to 85 and regret never having made anything or told your story because you were too scared. So I really sort of pushed myself in that sense and took a risk, and absolutely love what I do now. Like there's something about making your own or telling your own stories after you've told other people's stories for so many years. And I can't imagine ever acting again, really. Maybe, but I mean I still get to put myself in these things, which I like doing, but I just get so much reward, especially in this film and this topic. I feel like I might be doing this for the rest of my life, given how important it is and how we have to get it right. I can't imagine doing anything else, really, because if we don't get this one right, we're in a whole lot of trouble, and with kids that really ups the ante as well.
Yeah. With the recent success of Catherine Scott's Backtrack Boys, came an article from the Sydney Morning Herald with the headline, "More Money in Dog Food Commercials, the Crisis in Documentary Filmmaking," which included the quote from Scott, "It's never been more difficult to make a documentary in Australia." How have you found the process of getting your documentaries up and running?
I consider myself incredibly lucky, and I think the route that we've been able to take is quite rare. So I was lucky enough to be a part of something called Good Pitch Australia, which is where you choose 6 films and you pitch to a room full of philanthropists, and then if they connect with your film, they donate money to help you. And we got some money for Sugar Film, but also with this one we raised an extraordinary amount of money for our outreach in this 7-minute period, and then a lot of the people that were there offered to invest in the film as well. So it actually all got funded in about a week, which
Wow.
is again, I don't actually say that very often because I think that's not fair in a lot of ways. It's not an accurate representation. But yeah, I've got friends that make docos, and I know how incredibly difficult it is. So I'm very grateful for the opportunities I had. But I do think ultimately it's the idea and trying to find that zeitgeist feeling of what is out there, what are people going to want to see. I reckon it just takes real effort to think about, and especially because you know how long you're going to work on it. You have to really love it, but also feel about what are people yearning for at the moment. Is your story something that's going to connect with people in this moment? Because I think that in that sense you've got a much better way of getting it funded, and that happened with Sugar. I must have gone to 45 different people knocking on doors and trying to get that made, but could feel that there was some awareness of this growing, and so a lot of the money came from like liver doctors or parents that cared about their kids, really abstract places that you wouldn't normally look for money. So it does take a lot of hard work, and that's why I have nothing but respect and admiration for people that make documentaries, because it is definitely the hardest road.
I've got one last question, and it's something that I'm curious to know, and it's actually one of my wife's questions because she was interested as well. How much has documentary filmmaking changed your life socially and personally? I mean, do you rock up to a party and people hide the sugary snacks and pull out the coffee keep cups and stuff like that, or...?
They certainly did in the first couple of years afterwards. Even my friends, I remember one friend I went to meet for breakfast once, and I could see him in the distance, and he had like a glass of apple juice, and he put it on the chair underneath. I said, "Mate, I don't care." And often people, when my wife and I would be having dinner, would just kind of look and see what we were eating and stuff. It has changed my life, but in a lovely way. I mean, most of the people that come up to say, "Hey, you changed my life," or I reversed my type 2 diabetes, or I lost a ton of weight, and it's hard to get sick of that. That's a lovely thing to hear, and to feel that you can make a film that can resonate like that is. It's very special. I feel very grateful for that, and already even the screenings we've had of 2040, just to feel the relief that people have, and the sense of hope, or kids in particular, that just feel like there is things we can do, and thank you. And again, that just lights your heart up when you hear that kind of stuff, and that's why I make them, is that all these stories are bigger than me as an individual or any filmmaker, and I just feel it's important to start using narrative and using story to create a better world for ourselves, because there's a lot of stories out there, but a lot of them are quite dystopian, and a lot of them don't make you feel like inspired for the future. So I just thought it was time to throw a bit of balance into the mix.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the film. It's terrific. Go and see it, folks. You'll be able to find all the details at cinemaaustralia.com.au.
Thank you.